Welcome back. You're now tuning into the other side of sports. Your host, Laws, in the building. It's me. It's Aaron. We rocking out. New day. A lot of stuff to talk about. Got some catching up to do. Um, Before we get into our little question of the day discussion, um, and this Joan is good, Aaron. This is right for you because you out here in these streets, so you'll be able to attest to it if there's validity around it or not. Um, so, but before we get into that, though, we got to talk about this is probably as close to breaking news as we're gonna get. Sometimes we get breaking news and it actually happens while we're on the show, but that's rare. That's usually during football season or something like that. Though, the Live Golf and PGA have come to an agreement.
Of course.
They put the guns down and said, we're not going to try to blast each other no more. We're just going to work together.
Each other, or was it a one-way fight?
Dog, they both was, it was the sues, this like they suing, and then it's a counter suit. You know how I go, dog. Classic Judge Joe Brown, one bab over here suing, and then they doing a counter suit. So it was a lot of back and forth. But dog, we just gonna keep it all the way 100. Liv was kicking that.
Big bank take a little bank, dog.
Dog. They first of all, we knew it off the break. Once they started getting the big damn players, it was like, oh yeah, it's a rap city in the basement for the PGA. They done. It's just a matter of time. And the fact that like it took this long. I mean, you know what happened? Them executives in the PGA who are all old, all white, like they just live in the past. They just, live off of other people's money, just not doing nothing. They started to see them financials declining. Probably like, oh, what's going on?
They've never been in a situation where they weren't the big bank, where they couldn't like
That's a
big boy
fact.
people and kind of pressure people into doing what they wanted to do financially. So when somebody comes up to the party in the VIP section and they got more bread than you, they order more bottles. The influence shifts, dog.
No, but this is the hypocrisy behind it. These babbas try to convince the world that the Saudis was all this terrible people, terrible government. Any golfer going over there is just should
That's
just
what
be
white PR
banned from playing.
does. That's whenever whites aren't winning, that's what their PR does. They say those people are bad. How dare you? Be American. Where's your patriotism
These babbas try to kill. No, and this is the other part of it that's crazy. Donald Trump been with Live Golf since the beginning,
from the
and
jump?
and from Jump City. And they try to like act like he's all super American himself. Dog, he bought the bread like everybody else, dog. It just
Everybody else.
is it's so crazy.
You see them throw their little tantrum, and then when it didn't work, they're like, "All right, if you can't beat them, join them." You had to, because they bred like they was in a different class with the Saudis, though. You can't mess with their bread.
Dog. And it was just paying Bama's
It's
for like
unlimited.
they was just like, dog, okay, yeah, you just come over. They were like, what? I don't have to win? Dog, you tell
Nah,
me you gonna give me 30 million just to
just to
come
play.
over, just to play with y'all? Yeah, you ain't gotta win. And if you finish last, you getting big bread. Like, you know what I'm saying? You get way more pay. The payouts are way bigger for live golfers than they are for PGA. And so, I mean, if you was anybody, you like, dog, I'm about to go over here, make 30 million and just be chilling.
Yeah,
You
I
could play in the
want
PGA
to
for
see them.
years and not make that.
I'd have preferred to see Liv starve them out,
I
but I
did.
guess
I want
yeah,
him to go hard body. But I mean, they probably already in this deal because they basically can join in companies. They're gonna come up with like a name and blah blah. It's gonna be lucrative and profitable for them. So they like, why
yeah.
not?
I like to watch them squirm because they do that to everybody else.
They do that, dog. Try to squeeze them out, and then and they try to all them tactics that they do with the little
All of the
people. Like
tactics.
they did it. They tried to slander them. Had a player. Then the players just got to the point where they didn't care. They were like, oh, okay, all right,
This all that's gonna happen. It's no huge outlet,
yeah.
backlash.
And dog. And the thing that was so genius about the jump is that when they took the players, they started like taking the players from PGA. The PGA couldn't be like, well, they can't play in the PGA. They tried it at first, but then they realized like, if you don't, that's like watching the NBA. There's no Durant's, there's no
Right.
Jason Tatum's, there's no, Embiid's, no Jokic. Like, dog, how you gonna sell that product? So they had to let them play in the PGA as long as like they're like, oh yeah, you can play over here too, But yeah, they got him up out of there, dog. That jump was a smooth move. I'm about to write a letter over that jump. Hit up, get on Chat GPT, write a letter to the Saudis, be like, hey, young, can I just get a meal off the humble me tuna, dog? Just y'all hook me. Y'all got unlimited bread.
The Joe Blow tournament, dog.
The Joe Blow tournament. Let me in that jump, dog, so I can fry these Bamas. Yeah. So that's done. These Bamas done united. So a part of the agreement is all the litigations that's they have pointed at each other. That jump, all that's dead. I'm sure Liv about to get the TV contract like connection with them now. So which is going, I mean, that's what they were trying to get all along. But dog, these Bamas had their bread was so long, they just had like an independent stream of the golf tournaments, dog. Like you just log in and just watch it. Oh, it's crazy, bro. They should have put them to the fire all the way. Put them to the fire all the way. But I mean, it is what it is. All right. Here go the question of the day. It was a discussion, Aaron. And after listening to this disclaimer, there is some explicit language within it, but otherwise you should be straight.
Comments, they saying us black men, we get successful and get a white woman. Would y'all want to speak on that?
I'll definitely speak on that.
And that's sad. That hits me in the chest.
It hit you in the chest?
Yes, it did, because it's sad. Because they're not saying, I think white women are beautiful. They're not saying, I have a preference for white women. They're saying that in rebuttal to this conversation because they're tired of the black woman that won't go to the gym. They're tired of the black woman that doesn't have a hot meal ready when he comes home from work. They're tired of shit like that. So they say, you know what? Where can I go now?
You ready to get to one?
What can I do now? Because every black woman I encounter got that attitude. I don't need you. I don't want you. I don't got to. Girl, I don't got to cook. You doing too much. That's the attitude that have us by ourselves. And I think that's a cop-out too. You by yourself because don't nobody want you. And now you just saying you don't get attached.
I ain't been outside in a minute. So I don't.
So what's the question?
Is this true? Is there validity in this statement, or is she just blowing smoke? Is it just a short-sighted point of view?
It's nothing.
Okay.
So to be clear, I think there's a big difference between smashing off snow bunnies and wifing snow bunnies.
Okay.
That me is a delineation. If you outside and you just all you want to do is just pop whatever's moving, a lot of guys, they don't care what color you are.
They're not discriminating. Yeah.
So that's a different piece from
bad is bad. It just
right. But typically, when you talk about pairing up with somebody for a lifetime,
for the long haul,
making a family, the vast majority of black men want to be with black women, and there's nothing a trifling black woman to run somebody who wants to be with a black woman off to another race. And that's not to say that it never, ever, ever has happened, but
there's always
we talk about the majority over here.
Generally.
Yeah, we don't like to, we're not going to go with the 1 to 5% that they like to jump to when foolishness. Generally speaking, if somebody want to be with a black woman, they're going to be with a black woman. The other piece of that I think is disingenuous on the other side is that all like women like that want to be. They don't think they should have to do anything. They want to be in charge. They want to be the boss. They invisible to guys like me. Like there's a lot of black youngins out that do want to be wives, that do want to be mothers, that do want to cook like their mothers and their grandmothers did. They do, you know what I mean? They know how to act. And guys find them and scoop them up quick That's how it goes. They become wives.
Mhm.
So of course the squeaky wheel is the one, or the broken wheel is the one that's the loudest. So on
Mhm.
the internet, you see a lot of these bitter women that are undesirable and aren't getting chosen, screaming at the top of their
Mm.
lungs and kind of bitter towards it and posting all this crazy stuff we see in some groups. But we like see the stuff and we laugh in group chats, but we not out here like they're invisible.
Like we
Like in
gotta
the
get
day
them
to day
back.
life, we don't see them because
Yeah,
it's
no, that's
plenty
a
of
fact.
youngins out here that are attractive that conduct themselves like ladies and wives and the kind of women that guys want to be around, and that's the kind of women that guys for the most part spend their time. Now there's like, go ahead.
So what would you say to like a lady who's, you know, let's say mid-30s, attractive, seems to have a lot of things going for them, and is looking for that and is willing to kind of do that, but they just haven't found somebody to do that with.
You probably make bad decisions as men that you choose because if you were like, this is the thing, and we all know it. Like we joke,
Hmm.
Bama's have been outside at different points in their life. You know what it's like.
Hmm.
You know, you mean it, it's endless youngins out here. But when a dude want a good joint, or even in the midst of being outside, if he find a good joint, even if he's fake news, he gonna try to scoop that joint up while he's still being outside. You know what I mean? Like guys
Hmm.
will find the good youngins and scoop them up quick. That's just how it goes.
Hmm.
That's just that's just how it
So
goes.
so you
Wives
saying
become wives.
you saying if you're not getting scooped up,
Then you
you're
probably
not.
guys don't view you as a wife
Mm,
or as a mate. They might smash you, and a lot of times women confuse guys constantly
yeah,
wanting to
that,
smash them as guys wanting them.
yeah,
It's
wanting
it's
to
not
be
the
with.
same. Yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah, it was a situation that I was privy to where, you know, this guy, he was talking to this youngin, and the youngin was in this space bubble thinking that he was going to be with her. And I asked a few questions about, like, the dude in Alabama, you know, has other children, didn't marry either one of the previous baby mothers. And this girl was kind of championing that he was going to be with her. And I was like, and they were asking me what do I thought about the joint. And I was like,
You sure you want me to answer?
I was like, young, I'm telling you what it is, though. I like, she not making a good decision, a good choice, and you're going to get set up for failure. Everybody, no, you don't know what you're talking about. They're together. You just need to look at it. That's why we want to ask you. I was like, all right. 2 weeks later, Ern, what you think? What you think the verdict was, though?
On
I
the
didn't even think it
road
was.
again?
I thought it was going. I thought it was gonna be longer than 2 weeks, but I got paid, and then them bounces, the whole
The thing is, like,
circumstance flipped like a pancake.
I'm just gonna make assumptions and say that most of the people that said they didn't want to ask you were women.
Yeah, you already know.
Black
No,
women don't like straight
but
black men to talk. They don't want us to have our opinions that are different from theirs. They want to be the leaders of the community, and they want their ideas to be at the forefront, and their opinions and the way they view things to be at the. And anytime you say anything that differs from the way they see things, it's like a panic attack happens. You can't even just add valid points to counter what
but
their points are.
but you know what else it goes into it. Like if it's somebody that they like are connected to, or they're like, you know what I'm saying? It's like a
But in a
friend.
way, they see themselves connected to every other black woman that's single out here. They're rooting for them in a way that it's like it's so personal to them because they could see themselves either at one point
Mm,
being this or they are that person.
yeah,
So as long as they don't have any static with that person to somebody that they hate and hate on,
yeah.
generally black women see all other women, particularly black women, as themselves. And that's why a lot of times it'll be hard to
Mm,
determine like do you identify more as black or as a woman? Like, because it seems like they're just it's so personal to them this whole dating experience or lack thereof at this
mm,
point, especially in our age bracket, like late 30s to mid 40s. Like,
mm.
it's so personal and so hurtful to even have conversations about what the reality is that it's almost like close your eyes, cover your ears. You know what I mean? Like, no, that's not it. God's gonna put somebody in her life or my life, and that's the end of it. It's
No,
comical to me.
I mean,
Father
yeah.
Time is undefeated.
I just, yeah. I mean, and sometimes I'm like maybe too practical with situations and circumstances, but like if you're trying to apply for a job, if you have the right credentials, you'll get a look. You'll get a
A
look.
serious consideration.
It doesn't guarantee you get the job though,
But
but you'll
but
get a
this
look.
and if you're the best candidate, you'll definitely get the job.
No question. If you
So
don't have the credentials or you have a blemish on there, and like you gotta realize, like, yes, so just like applying for a job, yes, there is like when I go for a job interview, I may go and ask some questions. I want to make sure that the job is the right fit for me as well. But ultimately, if I want this job, I don't make the decision if I get the job or not. They're making the decision if they're gonna hire me or not. And that's the dynamic that exists. It just is what it is. Like one of our friends, me and D's friends, just recently got engaged, and like we were talking to her like maybe like a weekend ago, and we were just like talking about the prospect of it. But she was just like, I mean, I don't know, because the Bama got to make the decision. It's not up to her. I
not
mean,
up.
Ishak is out here proposing, but typically that's a very counterintuitive situation. If you the youngin on one knee trying to propose, like that whole dynamic. I mean,
And it,
yeah, I
and it kind of connects to something a narrative that's going on now also where you have like this 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 women empowerment phase that's going on now, and
Mhm.
they like to kind of even when they're not in positions of power pretend like they had like it's up to them. And you see a lot of narratives and articles about, oh, women are choosing to be alone instead of dealing with a subpart. You know what I mean? All of these narratives that they like to push, and it's just a lot of it is just being out of touch with reality. Really, it's like,
but
go ahead.
but again, just like the job scenario, you can make up all the scenarios in your
There it
mind
is.
why you ain't get the job or why they didn't want to hire you. Or I'm too good for them. Oh, they just not trying to like have diverse. Like you can make all the, but at the end of the day, like bills
The
got to
outcome
get
is the
paid.
outcome.
And your job comes down. Like you don't got a job. Like you know what I'm saying? And you can start your own business and you know what I'm saying? And do
Reality's
it
gonna
that
touch you
way.
at some point. You can want to live in fantasy land, but reality's gonna touch you at some point.
It's
But
it's a it's a
but just to the original question,
uh-huh.
you can't turn Obama into a coon or like I don't think the behavior of people that like some anecdotal evidence, like how many women could a dude have possibly dated and then just all of a sudden you pivot like I'm about to go get me a snow bunny. I've never ever seen that once in my life. Typically those kind of guys are the kind of guys they always liked white women or put white people on a pedestal above black. They always see them as the prize. Like that's something that's just embedded in them in other aspects of their life too. I'm not saying every black dude that ends up
Mhm.
with a bunny is a coon, but the majority of the ones
So
I've seen,
so what about these like uh so to speak notable like athletes and stuff like that, and then you see them with Caucasian women a lot of times, like they acquire certain status and you see them with like white women. Like,
which
is that a product of their status?
it's a product of coonage partially,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also a product of from the time guys are 17, 18, they're going to white universities where these white women worship the ground they walk on and chasing these dudes like you wouldn't believe. But
They chasing a lot more than
yeah,
than
they're
like,
more pro. Well, I can't say that because well, they're very proactive at that age of finding a husband,
okay,
finding a mate.
or hitching a
But
wagon.
yeah, but to me, that's still like it's no amount of chasing in the world that can get me to
Mhm,
to change my preference or
mhm,
to end up being with something that I don't foresee myself being with. So a lot of that is all. I don't know if that means some guys didn't have fathers around. A lot of these guys are mixed. Like we talked about at
mhm,
watching the draft, how when you look like almost half of the first round of guys are kind of like
Yeah.
that ambiguous race where it's like they mix with, you know, when you mix with something. It's not
Hmm.
just black guys from the hood no more,
Hmm.
filling up the draft. So it's a lot of different factors. I just
Hmm.
don't think either point is valid. Like I don't think trash black women are chasing
Hmm.
men away from black women as a
Hmm.
whole. Um, I don't think a man can be shifted in his preference just
Hmm.
based on anecdotal evidence on who he's chosen. The same way we blame women for who they choose to date, you got to
Hmm.
blame dudes if they choosing trash youngins. Then that's choices that they make.
Hmm. Yeah, nah, that's real. That's real. Um, yeah, chime in the comments if you got a take on it. If you agree, disagree, share this with your folks. You know, we open to hearing different perspectives. Uh, Shannon Sharp, he done with FS1 and Skip Bayless. When did it go wrong, Aaron? Was it the DeMar Hamlin tweet situation?
I think that's a big part of it. And I think
Okay,
that put your
that's when the
glasses
journey
back
said,
on, boy, that part was
"Oh yeah,
a big part of it.
yeah, yeah, yeah."
Um, and Skip, like, s- dealing with Skip is almost like, I don't want to say dealing with the enemy, but it's like, you it's like Skip does and says so many things. It's like he'll it's almost like somebody who actually has sold his soul for success. Like he says and does things that you nobody in the world believes that he actually believes, but he does it for the notoriety, the fame, and the money, and the acclaim that it's gotten him to at this point.
Hmm.
And because of the format of the show, Shannon is essentially like attached to Skip at the hip. So when
Hmm.
Skip does this outlandish stuff,
He got
it's
to
like,
talk to his mans on the back line, like,
right,
"Dog,
he's a
you let
former
him
pro
say that,
athlete.
dog." Like,
Exactly. And it's got it, and that's got, and he already is one of those guys who
yeah.
kind of has that coonship. And so, like, when you add
But I
that
feel like he
extra
try.
layer,
I feel like he trying to deactivate his jump, dog. I actually feel like Shannon's really like he's messing with the chip glitches and trying to like get that because dog the jump is like is messing him up. I
yeah,
feel like.
and it's just added pressure, like, because a lot of
Mhm.
times Southern guys are just different. Culturally, it's different. Like,
Yeah, there's
just
different
it's different,
exposure to like life. It just
right? And
Mhm.
then so like when you add that layer of like publicly every morning you sitting there watching Skip basically attack athletes and make up stuff, and you at a certain point it's like you're co-signing it by just being there, even though he argues
Yeah.
against some of the stuff. It's like the
Hmm.
DeMar Hamlin stuff. It's just at what point are you not going to sell your soul as well
Yeah.
for the platform and for
Hmm.
the fame? And then beyond that, Shannon is a bigger entity now than Skip is.
Hmm.
Shannon is a bigger draw than Skip. Nobody's coming to watch that show to watch that BS that Skip be spewing.
Nah.
So at this point, you got the leverage. You make a power play the same way he did at ESPN when he left for Fox
Hmm.
Sports One. So
Hmm.
I was happy to see the Bama leave.
Yeah, that's that as a power move. He has a successful podcast, and I think that too, having that to kind of fall back on, definitely you know helps him make that decision. You know what I'm saying? But they talking about LaShawn McCoy might be the replacement. That's a fail.
Trash.
All the way trash. I'm not watching LaShawn. I barely watch FS1 and barely watch Undisputed, but Shannon was basically the draw. Like if I did watch, it was to hear what Shannon had to say. Cause for the most part, if there's anything that's like I'll say racially motivated or prompted, like Shannon was most of the time going to speak on it. There's times he fall into the vortex that Skip was laying, but for the most part, he would be transparent and say what needs to be said. You put LaShawn McCoy on there, who I just feel like is a clout chaser by nature, in a sense, and I don't know. They probably do what most shows do is just shuffle people until they find somebody that people kind of like. Um, because I don't think that that's a good fit if they pivot to LaShawn McCoy. Yeah. So that's that. NBA Finals, we tied 1-1 going to Miami. they let Nikola Jokic score 40 plus, and apparently the Denver Nuggets are 0-3 when he scores 40 or more points. So I don't, they asked Spoelstra about like, oh, is that the game plan? Just let him score, and like how did and clearly he got a little perturbed at the sentiment, because he's like, y'all don't know basketball. Like what? Like it's not that simple. But I must say that we gotta applaud the Miami Heat, dog, and the coaching of Spoelstra. I'm sure Pat Riley is behind the scenes giving little nuggets and helping Spoelstra, or like giving him tips and stuff, which is fine, because I mean Spoelstra gets much of the credit. But
is Pat Riley a better coach than Spoelstra?
I think he is, yes.
I don't believe Pat Riley could have coached this team to the finals. To me,
Really?
it's the second worst team behind the LeBron, Eric Snow team in Cleveland to make it to the finals. You got Jimmy Butler and essentially nothing else. Bam's a solid player. You know what I mean? You got other guys who contribute here and there, but this is not a finals caliber team compared to some of the other teams that have gotten bounced. You're talking about Boston, you're looking at Philly, all these other teams with way more talent. To me, the coaching is, I think Spoelstra's the best X's and O's coach in the league. And I don't even think it's close.
So I could agree with that. I think Spoelstra is a phenomenal coach, and he, we remember when LeBron was on the team, and that team, like, it was questions around like Spoelstra should go and blah blah, and Pat Riley was not having it. He was just like, this is the coach, and this is how we rocking, and if you're not cool with that, like, so be it. But like, players have come and gone, and Spoelstra has been there, and this adjustment to like play like man full court and then jump into a zone, like it's
just
levels.
Give anything to see that kind of coaching take place here. We kind of mock a lot of the plays coming out of timeouts, just the basic X's and O's coaching that's gone on with the past two head coaches with the Wizards, and it's just, to me, there's just a drastic difference in watching a guy make adjustments in real time to things that are actually going on in the game versus watching a guy have to go 10, 15, 20 games in a skid to kind of make adjustments with substitutions or to figure out what the problem is. To me, I think he's the best. And he's definitely getting the most with the least, for sure.
Yeah.
I might argue the Wizards have more talent than the Miami Heat does from top to bottom. I actually would argue that. But culturally and coaching-wise, non-existent.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely we lack a lot here. We'll see if the new GM brought in this week can change some of that situation. It's going to be interesting. Like, my litmus test for the Wizards right now with the new management coming in is really seeing what they do in this NBA draft and seeing what kind of moves they make to this roster. That'll help me to get a better idea of what the vision is for this team, if they have the right people in place or not. This is just the first stop, and I mean, of course, you got to always give time, but like, it doesn't take that much time to see. I've been doing my own personal scouting of NBA prospects coming in, and so it's going to be interesting to see who they go after in this draft, and it'll say a lot about if we're getting the right people in the building. But you're right, dog. Coaching wise, trash. Like Wes Unseld Jr., I'm sorry, bro. If I met you, I would shake your hand.
Just like Tommy, dog. They got good
like
guys
Tommy
in there, but they can't.
You good dude, dog. We can go play golf. You know what I'm saying? I'm with it. But bro, your coaching ability, and this is the thing. So for me, I have a hard time with the excuses, because like, people always can find an excuse for anything, dog. Like, you can find an excuse for anything. You can make up an excuse. The guys who win don't be doing that. Spoelstra could have had excuses. Oh, I lost Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero got hurt. That's one of my major pieces
Probably second
to my
best player on
offense.
the team.
You're right. And he goes down right before the playoffs. Like, did he? Oh man, yeah, make excuse. No, they pivoted. They found a way to get it done, and that's one of the things that's just lacking in all of the Washington sports teams. Like finding a way to get it done.
And
Uh,
even beyond the X's and O's and adjustments, to me, the single most important asset or characteristic of a is being able to evaluate the talent on your own team. And we this is with both teams, the football team and the basketball team. The head coaches have zero clue of who their best players are and who their worst players are. It's more of a who do I like, who's the guy who has the narrative circulating around him, who has the maybe even hype to a certain extent around him. It's not about who the best guys are. And we
dog.
watch guys get hurt and then guys who are on the bench come in and cook, or guys who are on the bench get traded to other teams and be contributors in ways that they didn't contribute here. And it's not because there's no gray cloud over DC. The coaches do not understand what they have on their rosters. And if you don't know what you have on your roster, you don't know what you need, you don't know what adjustments you can make, let alone need to make.
And
It's
I,
ridiculous.
even to that point, dog. This is one of the things that are great separators from the teams that win and the teams that lose. Winning teams aren't looking at their roster, looking at the checkbook at the same time, like, oh, this Bama get paid, oh, he gotta play. Oh, this dude, oh yeah, fans like him, oh, we gotta. They just look at it at face value. Who's the guy that we can count on to get buckets? It's no fit. Like, you think Spoelstra, he sat Kyle Lowry down? He had Duncan Robinson
Man,
out there, Joe. Like, these are moves that you make if you're trying to win. If winning is paramount, you're making these type of moves that I think a lot, I'll say majority of the coaches really have no authority to do because they looking over their shoulders. They got taught to. It's like clearly in the building, at least in Miami, their winning is paramount. Whatever you got to do to win, you can do that. This guy's not performing or, making it happen. Oh, sit him down. You gonna sit him down? Yes. But he getting paid third best top salary. I don't care. Dog, Kevin Love, they put Kevin Love in the jump. They say, oh, nah, you're going to stop, bro, because they're committed to winning. That does not happen in loser cities like Washington, D.C. There's all these other factors that they're looking at other than winning basketball games, winning football games. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a narrative that's going to come up. It's not here all the way, but this Sam Howell situation is Exhibit A. You got a guy, they need him to do good and be good. And already people can say what they want. They're like, well, he's trending down. And this is typical of young players and blah, blah, blah. Dog, again, it's excuses. It's excuses. Then they talk about Jacoby Brissett is trending up in the offense and this and that. But it's Sam Howell and, you just got to give it time. It's too early. All of this stuff like that. Dog, Aaron, let me tell you something. This is just real life. We go back to the job application and situation, right? Let's say it's my first 2 weeks on the job, Aaron. I come in late one day. Does that not count on my record? Does that not? Do I get a pass? They gonna look like, hold on. Bama just started. He already, everything matters, people. Everything matters. So we not gonna run this Sam Howell. Gotta give him time. Now, if this was later if this is trading camp, like dog, I told y'all what y'all can be in store for is 500 football. He gonna have some good games, and then he gonna have some duds out there. It's just the reality of it, people. I think Bieniemy is a much better coordinator than we've ever had. And he will squeeze the most out of the juice that's in that bottle. But don't get too hyped. That's all I'm saying.
So if they start 2-0, you're going to get too hyped? Because they
Nah,
put two trash teams out the gate,
you
like the
already know.
Cardinals and somebody else. And if he throw for 285 and 4 touchdowns after 2 games,
Yeah,
You
I'm
gonna be
not.
drinking the Kool-Aid? Nah.
Nah, I ain't drinking no Kool-Aid, bro. Not after 2. They gotta go 6-0. Then I might, yeah, we get the big jug of Kool-Aid, dog. If they go 6-0, something like that. They talking about DeAndre Hopkins might be Detroit Lion. That's one of the spots. I
Who's the
like it.
quarterback there?
Jared Goff.
Oh, they didn't get a guy in the
Nah,
draft.
they rocking with Goff. Goff had a really good season last year, dog.
Yeah,
He had a really good season.
Detroit played way above their head last year. I mean, I don't think it's a bad move. I did see people talking about him not being able to run anymore. I don't know that running was really ever his
His
greatest
strong
asset.
suit, yeah.
But when you say that, you also don't really have a step to lose. So I haven't seen him play way under what he's played when he's been available. So I mean, I think it could be a good move for them.
Yeah. I think that could be good for them too.
I like to see
Would you take
Baltimore
him
take a
here?
swing at it too.
Baltimore need him.
Um,
Baltimore needs him.
I wouldn't take him here because I like what they have already at that position.
Mhm.
It's just a matter if the quarterback can't get the guys that they have the ball, adding another weapon to the fold, I don't think necessarily would
Yeah,
would
it's gonna help.
help
Gonna
tremendously.
help. Yeah, nah, that's a fact. Um, Before we get out of here, the finals. Who you got? You going with Denver or you going with Miami?
Miami is the scrappiest team I've ever seen, but I still
They
feel like
scrappy, dog.
Denver is so much more talented than they are. And size-wise, they're so much bigger than Miami is. Just Jokic just walks down the lane and just throws up whatever he wants. He's like nobody on the floor can contest him at all. So I'm leaning Denver right now, barring injury or
Mhm.
something crazy happen. But they can't
Yeah,
go down two. They can't go down
yeah,
2-1.
yeah. That's what I'm about to say. This next game is really going to be the determining factor. Because if you ask me, I don't know who's going to win the jump. I feel like it could really go either way. But I think the way I've seen the Miami Heat respond in tough situations,
They never
I
quit.
feel like I have a track record to go off of. Like these Bama's get gritty. Jones games they're like, oh yeah, they about to lose, and then they just come out and win, and just go to a game 7 in the other person's home, and you're like, oh yeah, it's a wrap, and then they just buckle down and just get it done. I just that's what I've seen from them the entire playoff, just grit and resilience, and whatever needs to happen. Denver hasn't really been in the trenches like that. They've pretty much dog walk a lot of their opponents because of the things that you alluded to, like just their ability to score and all the tools in their toolbox they have as far as players is concerned. Like, it's just they're deep as a squad. So they just haven't been tested the same way. And I don't know if they lose this next game in Miami, I think things can get really, really interesting.
The momentum will definitely shift. I think if they find a way to lose, they just to me they should be so much better. And this again comes to coaching. Like I think if you switch coaches on those teams, it's a 4-0 sweep. But they're so much bigger, so much better, especially offensively. I don't see how they can't win this series. This is going to be an indictment on Joker and on the head coach if they don't find a way to get out of this series with a chip.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact. Do you fire Mike Malone if they lose this?
No, I don't think you can fire him. They'd never even to the finals before.
Mhm.
See, this is the thing about firing Washington. We could say that here because we know damn near anything is better. When you are at that level, like with Udoka,
Yeah.
it's not just as simple as replacing a guy and you just take the next step. So unless you have something better that you know is better, it's Pop coming, it's Spoelstra coming. I think you give them at least another year to see what they can do.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Follow us at OSS 980 at Other Side of Sports. You see all the stuff at the bottom. Holler at us, chime in, subscribe, leave comments. Shout out to Where's Buffy podcast. Shout out to Lance J Radio, kicking it with G Man, Sports Talk Tasha, everybody who rock with us. Heavy. Share the content. Peace.